Hello, how are ya? I am here because I have once again read enough books that I feel like we have something to talk about. Hello, my lovely friends, it's Margaret. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I have some sci-fi and fantasy books that I really want to talk with y'all about, so I figured let's sit down, let's chat about some books. Quick catch up for those of you that are new here or missed the last Reads video. I am switching from doing monthly wrap-ups to recent Reads videos. I have reasons for doing that. They're in that first video. Check it out if you're interested. The thing you need to know for this video is that I am now grouping my recent reads by specific genres. Once I've read enough of the genre grouping or genre that I want to talk about, I'm just going to sit down and we're going to have a chat about some books because this is a booktube channel and that's what we do here. We talk about books. Feel free to leave your thoughts, anything that you have to say in the comments. I'd love to hear from y'all. By the way, there will be timestamps down below in the description box. If you're looking for a specific, like you want the sci-fi books, you want the fantasy books, they will be there. This is the sci-fi portion though because we're going to start out with that. Let's sit down. Let's talk about Sleeping Giants by Sylvain Neuvel. This guy is an adult science fiction series. We are following a bunch of different people. We start out with a scientist that when she was very young, she fell into a hole in the ground, and this hole in the ground actually turned out to be a giant metal hand. It turns out that something or someone left pieces of this giant robot on Earth, and we have finally gotten to a point technologically that we are able to find them and these pieces are surfacing. There's a whole bunch of details that I'm just going to let sit over there because they are mildly spoilery, but basically what you need to know about this book is this is a multimedia format. We are sitting through interviews with different members of this team. We have one central figure doing the interviews, and then we have different people who are part of this team that their job is to piece together this robot, find the different parts of this robot, and figure out what the heck this robot does. I gave this 3 stars, which basically means that I enjoyed it, I liked it, but I did not love it. Like, I'm not in love with these books, but I am intrigued enough to continue on in the series, especially after that ending. Guys, like, if you've read this book, like that end, like I knew it was coming. I knew it had to be coming. I felt it deep in my soul. But at the same time, I was kind of surprised that it happened by the time we got to it. I thought this was a really interesting way to do this story. I like the way that it is being treated almost like a secret government dossier. If you sat down and listened to any podcasts about like Watergate or some of the other like clandestine CIA, this has that feeling. It almost feels, it's not a spy thriller, but it feels almost like a science fiction thriller novel, even though there's nothing really thrillery going on in here. It just has that kind of like almost noir feel of this person putting the pieces together of a story that he kind of mostly already has, but he's pulling pieces from all of these different people trying to figure out the grand scheme kind of thing that's going on. The characters are a disaster. So messy. There's so much going on here. I enjoyed them. I felt like they were all fully fleshed out people. Some of the decisions, but I understood why some of the decisions were made that were made in just, some of them were questionable decisions, but I understood what was going on there. We're dealing with very human characters, very messy characters. There's also a lot of commentary, and I'm not sure which way the author is leaning, but there's a lot of commentary on global politics and militaries and things like that that I found very interesting, and how like borders are drawn up, and like there's a lot of question of like what is permissible for the greater good. This main narrator or interviewer kind of has this idea of what they are preparing for and what he's getting ready for, but he's not sharing all of the pieces, and he's willing to go very far to make sure that those things are done. I like the kind of complexity that we have there. I think there are some things that like have me side-eyeing, like I don't know, depending on how we interpret them, I'm not sure how I'm gonna feel about this series, but like I enjoy the general setup and I liked this book in and of itself. If you're trying to like cut your teeth into science fiction, I think this is going to be a very good one. The main kind of driving force, the main focus behind this, although we have this like overarching plot of these giant robots, these kind of giant mech items that are going on, and this like bigger questions about what's out there in the universe, how did they get here, what's going on there. A lot of this is much more, like I said, kind of like a thriller almost, or a mystery novel, or something like that. If you are a thriller reader that is looking to get into, or a mystery reader that's looking to get into science fiction, this is a very interesting one. This is very bare bones science fiction in a very, like, it's done very well. I don't think I'm knocking the series, but I think this would be a very good one that's accessible for newer science fiction readers, because we're still on Earth. We are dealing with technology that for the most part we understand and we know. There's just this added level of these mechanical giants that we are dealing with that kind of elevate it to that sci-fi space and start introducing some of those concepts for you. Speaking of what I consider super accessible sci-fi, we have Rogue Protocol and Exit Strategy by Martha Wells. This is a reread, and this I was reading for the first time. I had to reread the first 3 books to get back to where I could read this again, because it's been a while. I picked this series up last year and absolutely adored it, and then I decided I was going to strong arm my brother into reading the books with me, and I got him to do that for the first book. We are following Murderbot, who's a sec unit. They are built for combat. Like, not like combat, but they are built to be hired out to different groups and help keep them safe, consult them on security, things like that. And then something happens that leads to them hacking their governor module, which is the thing that controls them, hacking that so that they are in control of their own decisions instead of the company that owns them being in control of those decisions. They're still working for the company, they're still wanting to, like, do their job. They just don't want anyone else to be deciding what they do. This gets them into some shenanigans, and then they spend the rest of the series kind of dealing with the various bits of fallout of that. This, again, because it is so short, because it is so, like, low on jargon, and so much of the focus is on people and relationships and those kinds of concepts, with the science fiction part kind of being the setting. It is truly like the setting. It is worked into the plot so well that makes it great for people who are looking to get into or experiment with science fiction, but are kind of intimidated by some of the meatier tones that you see out there. If you are scared about the size of science fiction, this is a very good one to pick up. I have likened this to arcs in a comic book series. You'll have 1 or 2 or 3 issues that are kind of part of a greater arc, but they have their own little mini plot within it, or almost like arcs in seasons of a TV show. That's kind of the way that this series operates. We have this greater overarching plot that Murderbot is dealing with and getting more invested in that is not resolved yet. It's continuing, like, we're resolving small parts of that, but mostly what we're focusing on is Murderbot exploring their identity and the way that, like, what they want. Rogue Protocol is very much about, like, what's going on in Murderbot's head and what do they want. Now that they are able and in charge of their own decisions, able to make their own decisions, what do they do with that? What does that mean for them? What does that mean for their relationship with the people who hire them and the people who they... That's spoilers, I'm not going to go there. Exit Strategy, we are getting more into, or getting back into, the kind of thing that kicked off this entire plot in the first place. I think we're getting into what is the big plot for this series. Again, nothing is solved really in this, but we have our little mini arc that does get resolved, and we go through this with it. I'm a big fan of, like, grumpy loner characters that are grumpy and loner because, like, not because they're assholes, but just because, like, dealing with people is exhausting to them. I love reading those books where you've got, like, that character that's like, I don't want to deal with people. I don't want to care about these people. I don't want to do any of that. And then the character, like, you know how, like, sometimes you'll have that character and then they get involved with a group of people and you watch them slowly get attached to these people and be super mad about it. That's a favorite trope for me. I love it. I love the character that's, like, reserved with everyone else and keeps themselves back from everyone else, but then, like, there are people they care about and they will do a lot of things to keep those people safe. Give both of these 4 stars. This is shaping up to be an all-time favorite series for me, and I cannot wait to get into the next one, which is, like, the full-length novel for this series. I'm very excited. Once again, I have forgotten that I put things back here. And then we are going to finish the sci-fi section of this video with Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. I went into this knowing that there were not going to be any answers in this book, and that it was definitely a book that could not be read as a standalone. This is the first book in the Southern Reach trilogy, or the Area X trilogy. You may have heard of it referred to as both. We're following a biologist that is part of a team that their job is to go into this very odd, anomalous region that just kind of sprung up out of nowhere one day, and they call it Area X, and they are supposed to be going in to find out what's going on, get more information about this area. There have been 12 expeditions so far gathering various bits of information, trying to figure out what's going on, trying to figure out, is it spreading? They do know that like modern technology doesn't really work very well in that area. It can lead to unwanted side effects for the people who are going. The last expedition did not come back the usual sort of way. They just kind of appeared at their homes almost. So they're trying to figure out what's going on. We're following this biologist as she is dealing with the effects of this area, as she is watching how it affects the other people in her party and trying to figure out what is going on here. There's a lot of stuff that is just weird and alien, and there are no answers for why it is the way that it is, and they're trying to figure out what's going on, and then it goes from there. Like the plot, spoilers, can't talk to you. I enjoyed this. I thought it was so weird and creepy. It's a little bit almost like a science fiction horror type novel. We have all of these unexplained things, especially when we start exploring some of the locations in Area X, and the biologist gets obsessed with this thing that she calls the tower. And so she's exploring this tower, and there are some really weird, creepy crawly things that she ends up running into through here. She's starting to notice that Area X is changing not just her, but the other people in her party. I loved it. I loved the world building. I love the uncanny feeling that you get reading this book. I loved the way that the biologist is observing things and going through things, and the way we're going back and forth between what the biologist is seeing and witnessing in the moment in Area X, and how that is making her, like, she goes back and forth between that and how she's, like, things that she's thinking about in her past. Like, they don't necessarily end up connecting to the greater plot, but it is a very interesting way to flesh out this character. We're studying this character, the way her past has affected her. We're studying the way that what is going on around her is affecting her, the people that she is around, how they're affecting her, as she is exploring this very weird, unknown place. That's kind of Jeff Vandermeer's thing, I guess, having started the second book. I will say no answers are had in this book. All we know is that the biologist is there, she makes some decisions, she moves forward with those decisions in this book, and then we pick up in an outside perspective for the next book. I think that this is one that, like, you have to be okay with not having all of the answers. You have to be okay with things being a little bit open-ended at the end of this book. I have no doubt that there will be answers, because I've heard very good things about this from different people that have read it before me. I gave this 4 stars as well, and it is just weird, creepy, and very existential. If that's your thing, if you're okay with not getting answers, if you are fine with having to read 3 books of really weird character study, introspection, like stuff like that, if you're okay with that, go ahead and pick this up. This is not going to work for everyone. It's a very, in my opinion, kind of a slow-paced plot. There is not a lot, especially in this one, there is not a lot that happens, but like the tension of what is going on here is what carries you through the book. Now it is time for us to talk about the fantasy bits, and we're going to be starting out with part of my reread of the Percy Jackson series. I decided that I was going to reread the series. They're backwards. They're The Lightning Thief and Sea of Monsters. I decided I was going to reread this series, and it was such a good decision. 5 stars. I still love it. In the first book, we were following 12-year-old Percy Jackson as he finds out that he is the demigod son of Poseidon. There's a lot of stuff that happens in that. He finds out that his best friend is half goat. He loses his mom. He ends up being accused of stealing a thing that he didn't steal, he couldn't possibly have stolen, and he knows this. He's gonna know the fact that apparently there are always going to be monsters after him wanting to kill him because he is a demigod. And so he ends up having to go on a quest to retrieve Zeus's lightning bolt. People think he stole it to help his dad out, and his dad's like, no, so I need you to go retrieve it from our other brother, Hades, and stop a war between the gods. And then in the second book, which is Sea of Monsters, we deal with Percy going on his second quest. He's kind of snuck away from camp because technically he should not be going on this quest, but he and his best friend Annabeth are like, well, Grover is in trouble, so we've got to go bail Grover out of trouble. And I'm not going to tell you more than that because it could be slightly spoilery. However, if you are an Odyssey girly, it's a good one. Sea of Monsters, having reread this, it's so underrated when it comes to the development of both Percy and Annabeth. So much stuff that happens in this book that I think gets overlooked. I think this is probably, I understand it, probably most people's least favorite book. Last in my ranking of the series, but also the entire series gets 5 stars from me. The things that I love about this series is, number one, I'm a Greek mythology girly. I was that girl in middle school and I was obsessed. And so I love the way that Rick has modernized these myths, and reading it, every time I read it, I find new things that are interesting. One of the things that has stood out the most in this reread, and maybe it was the last read, I don't know, Percy so much of what is happening in these first 2 books is going to have such a outsized effect in how the series ends. We are seeing him in these books struggle with decisions and with concepts when it comes to friendship, when it comes to family, when it comes to the fact that what you so much of this is about what the myth says and what the person who that is part of that myth, what's going on with them. So much of it is about not judging people at face value or based on what other people have told you. And I can see how all of these things that he is going through and learning how they are going to lead to him decisions that are made at the very end of the series that have a massive effect on the fate of the world. And just seeing how Rick has put those in there and used them, it's so fascinating to me to see how much stuff he has built in these first 2 books, and to be reading this and seeing all those things that I missed, to be seeing all of the bits about how don't get me wrong, I love the TV show, I love the interpretation that they have done for Percy and Annabeth. However, these books, there are things that we see that are so integral to who Annabeth is and why she makes the decisions, and they lead to such a beautiful, nuanced character that I think, unfortunately, were cut out. I thought we saw a lot of depth in regards to certain aspects of her character, but there's stuff in the show that just kind of got erased about her character, specifically when it comes to her insecurities and the fact that she's not always in charge. I highly recommend, if you like the show, read these, because it's just an expansion of everything that is good in the show. The show distilled so many of the good parts of these series, and if you want more of it, read these. I'm very excited to see where they're going there. That's why I'm rereading the series, because I love it so much, and it's so good. I'm rereading Titan's Curse here soon. So anyways, if you haven't read this series because of me yet, please, if you've been thinking about it, please read it. Please come and talk to me about it. I'm never tired. I'm never tired of talking about Percy Jackson, guys. Just never, ever, ever. Ever, ever, ever. After that, we need to talk about Tread of Angels. If you're new to the channel, Rebecca Roanhorse is a perennial fave. I love her Trail of Lightning series. I had a fantastic time with Black Sun, although I didn't understand a lot of it. We're rereading that here eventually soon. And so, of course, when this came out, I was like, I have to pick this up. How do I explain? So we're following a main character. She lives in a world, kind of a steampunkish type world, where angels and demons are real, and they are dealing with the aftermath of certain people getting kicked out of heaven and all of that kind of stuff. We're following a character who is one of the elect, which means that she has some angel blood in her, and then her sister, who is not able to pass as an elect. Our main character can, but her sister cannot. Her sister is accused of murder, and our main character is that's not possible. My sister cannot possibly have done that. She is going through trying to prove that her sister did not commit this murder. I like this. This is such an interesting world, and the way it kind of takes gold prospecting town and weird celestial and hellfire, demonic magic, I guess is what you would call it. It takes a really interesting turn that I don't think you usually expect from a mystery. Most mysteries with this plot and this setup would not end that way, and yet here we are with this. There's not a lot I can say about it without spoiling it, but this is very much a book about family. This is very much a book that is exploring not religion really, but morality and ethics and all of those things, and I had a good time reading it. If you're interested, definitely pick it up. After that, I reread Howl's Moving Castle. Then I read Castle in the Air and House of Many Ways by Joanna Wynne Jones. All 3 of these got 5 stars. I don't know that I can recommend Castle in the Air all that much. I loved it. I enjoyed it, but it was purely because I love Diana Wynne Jones's writing style and all of that, and the fact that we had Howell and Sophie in this book. They really came in at the end and took what was going to be a 4-star book to 5 stars. They're it. They're the thing I love the most about this series. However, there's just some stuff in regards to the setting at the beginning of the book. This was written in 1990, and it kind of shows, and not in a great way when it comes to having Arabic settings, and the fact that that's where she went, and some of the it wasn't the worst I've ever read. It definitely wasn't The Horseman is Boy, but it's still, there's a lot of stuff in there that I'm oh, this could have been handled so much better. However, I do recommend these 2 very much, and you can actually read these 2 without reading this one if you would prefer not to. I know I've told you this you guys about this so many times. I'm going to tell you about this again just in case there's anybody new. Howl's Moving Castle is about Sophie Hatter. She is the eldest of 3 sisters, and she is the one that is currently working in her father's hat shop after he dies. She runs into a little bit of trouble because she's been accidentally magicking her hats, and this offends the Witch of the Waste, who is a big, bad, evil witch person that everyone is afraid of. And the Witch of the Waste saunters into the shop one day, is like, I don't like that you've been working magic like this and you're trying to take my place, and boom, you're cursed now. And Sophie ends up being turned into an old lady and does, just is like, well, the only way to deal with this is to run away from home. She runs away from home and ends up running across the moving castle of the wizard Howl, who is another, like, big bad bogeyman type magic person that everyone is afraid of because he supposedly captures young women and then eats their hearts. I love them so much. I love the whimsy of this world. I love just like the ridiculousness of the characters. It's like everything that is good about like those fun, whimsical, ridiculous, magical middle grades. Like, everything about it, I love it so much. I love Diana Wynne Jones's writing style, the way that she reveals character. I love the fact that, like, we have a stepmother in this that's not a wicked stepmother, that actually has the best, like, interests of her girls and the girls that she has raised for her, raised with her, their now dead husband. This is also, like, if you love supreme annoyance to lovers, like, because they're not really enemies, it's more of a hate to love thing where they are just like so annoyed with each other at all times, and yet they love each other so much despite getting on each other's last nerve. Like, just, I love it. I love this series so much. I don't know how much more I can say about this or how much more things I can add about having read this. The final one that I want to tell you guys about, this was a surprise favorite. Like, I was not expecting, like, novellas don't usually, like, end up getting 5 stars from me. But I picked up Untethered Sky by Fonda Lee just a couple of weeks ago, and it was so good, guys. It got me. This world is centered around these giant birds called rocks. Our main character, Esther, is a rooker, and that is all she has wanted to be since a manticore came and killed her younger brother and her mother. Rocks are the natural predators of manticores in this world, and so she spent years training, and we're following her during the period that she is the rooker for a rock named Zara. This is so much a story about not necessarily like this woman and her rock, but about her and the society of rookers around her and the relationships that she builds with the people around her. Like, the main focus of this, because the rocks do not necessarily live for, like, they live like 30 years, so they may live the entirety of their trainer's lifespan, but they may not. This is very much more like, if you know anything about falconry, this is very much more kind of like the idea of you train an animal and you teach it to do a task, but you still have to be on guard because that animal is still at its essence a wild animal. I love the way that was explored, and the way that the lasting bonds that we really see being built are between our main character and the people that are in her life, while she's also building this relationship with Zara, her rock. And the ending, y'all, I have no words for it. Primarily because if I tell you why this ending, it's one of my favorite things that happens in endings. I can't. And I can't tell you because it would spoil everything, and you'd be like, Margaret, why are you telling us that? I understand, okay? I'm not going to spoil it for you, man. Don't worry about that. That's quite possibly the worst review I've ever given for a book. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, man. But that's how I feel, and that is the most that I can communicate, because otherwise, what are we doing? I will say the world building of this is really, like, so... I really wish we had a full-length novel in this world, because while I feel like the story itself is self-contained enough that it works as a novella, it didn't leave me feeling like, oh my god, why was this book not longer? Because, like, I had issues with the plot, like it being too short or being too rushed or like, it was perfectly paced in my mind. But, Fonda, if you're watching, I need more in this world. With these characters, preferably, but, like, there's so much going on in the background with the politics and the empire and all of that and the different print and all of that, that I'm like, there legitimately could be an entire series in this world with all of these things. So, like, if Fonda Lee has more ideas, Fonda, if you have more ideas in this world, I'll buy them. I will buy them. I will read them. I'll give you my email is in the description box, Fonda. Just send them to me. I want to read more in this world. fascinating. Like, I was just like eating up every single bit of information that I could get. I'm a little unhinged. I apologize. I just love it. Was good. It was really, really good, guys. I don't know if I can talk about this book with chill. I just had such a good time, and there's only so much I can say about this book without like just ruining it for everyone, because they'll know everything that happened. So if I start talking, I think I was a little bit more put together in the vlog that I did where I read this. So if you want to check that out, it's going to be right up here. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, if you like the vibes, go ahead and hit the subscribe. That is it for now, my friends. Happy reading, and I will see you later when we will talk about more wordy, nerdy things. Bye!